We all want to achieve great things, to reach our potential, to make our mark on the world. But what happens when that intense desire to strive, to be more, actually starts to hold us back, making us less of who we could be? It's a journey many of us are on, often without realizing the hidden pitfalls. Society tends to celebrate ambition and achievement so loudly that we often don't pause to question the cost of that achievement until it's perhaps too late. In this video, we'll explore what ambition really is and why it holds such a powerful allure. We'll look at how this powerful force, when unchecked, can turn from a helpful guide into a harmful taskmaster. We'll share some profound and relatable examples from everyday life and classic stories to see these dynamics in action. We'll also try to understand why this happens. What are the psychological and societal traps that turn good ambition bad? And most importantly, we'll discover practical ways to cultivate a healthy, balanced ambition that truly helps you shine and reach your fullest, most authentic potential. So, if you're ready to explore this paradox and learn how to make your ambition work for you, not against you, let's begin. So let's start at the beginning. What is ambition? It's a word we hear a lot, but what does it truly mean? Simply put, ambition is a strong desire and determination to achieve something. It's that inner fire, that drive that makes you set goals and work hard to reach them. Think of it as the fuel that pushes you to learn a new skill, like playing the guitar or coding a website. It's what motivates a student to study for good grades, an entrepreneur to launch a new business, or an activist to fight for a cause they believe in. And let's be absolutely clear. Healthy ambition is a fantastic thing. It's a powerful engine for personal growth. It's what helps us push our boundaries, overcome challenges, and discover what we're truly capable of. When ambition is healthy, it encourages wonderful qualities like persistence, not giving up when things get tough, resilience, bouncing back from setbacks, and self-discipline, the ability to stay focused and manage your actions. Imagine an athlete training for the Olympics. Their ambition drives them to practice relentlessly, to push their physical limits, to get stronger, and to never give up on their dream. That's ambition working in a truly positive and inspiring way. Now, when we talk about ambition, it's often linked to the idea of reaching our potential. So, what do we mean by human potential? Think of it as all the amazing possibilities that exist within you, like a seed that can grow into a magnificent tree. It's your capacity to improve, to learn, to grow, and to become the best, most fulfilled version of yourself. Healthy ambition, then, can be seen as one of the keys that can unlock this incredible potential. But why do we chase it? What makes us strive? Well, there are a couple of main drivers. First, there are intrinsic desires. These come from within us. Maybe you're driven by pure curiosity, the joy of learning something new. Perhaps you love the challenge of tackling a difficult problem, or you feel a deep sense of purpose in what you're doing. You might simply want to make your mark on the world, however big or small. This kind of motivation feels personal and deeply satisfying. Then there are extrinsic motivators. These come from the outside world. This could be the desire for recognition, like getting an award or praise from others. It could be the lure of rewards, like a higher salary or a better job title. And sometimes it's simply societal expectation, the feeling that we should be ambitious, that it's what's expected of us to be considered successful. The societal narrative around ambition often shines a spotlight on these extrinsic rewards, the fame, the wealth, the status. We see stories of people who achieve these things and they're celebrated. This constant focus on external achievements can sometimes create an imbalance from the very start. It might lead us to chase goals that look good on the outside or that society applauds, even if they don't truly align with what makes us feel happy and fulfilled on the inside. This subtle skewing can set the stage for the paradox we're exploring today, where the striving starts to sting. Similarly, how we define potential matters. If we only think of potential as achieving grand, visible things, like becoming a CEO or a famous artist, we might narrowly channel our ambition towards those specific goals, potentially neglecting other vital aspects of a well-rounded and genuinely fulfilling life, like strong relationships, inner peace, or contributing to our community in quieter ways. So, if ambition has this wonderfully positive side, helping us grow and achieve, how on earth can it diminish our potential? This is the very heart of the paradox we're exploring. It's like ambition is a powerful tool. It can build incredible things, but if we're not careful with how we wield it, it can also cause unintended damage. The problem isn't ambition itself. The real issue arises with unchecked ambition. This is ambition that's not managed wisely, ambition that becomes blind to its consequences, or even toxic to our well-being. It's when the desire to achieve becomes so all-consuming that it starts to have a negative impact. This shift from healthy to unhealthy ambition often doesn't happen overnight. It's usually a subtle, gradual process. In fact, early successes fueled by intense striving can actually validate that intensity, making it harder to recognize when we've crossed a line. We get positive feedback, a good grade, a promotion, praise from others, and our brain says, "See, this intense effort works." This can create an addictive loop where we keep pushing harder, not realizing the internal toll it's taking. So, what are some of the initial warning signs? How can we tell when our striving is starting to sting? One of the first clues is a persistent feeling of restlessness. You achieve a goal you've worked hard for. Maybe you finally get that job or finish that big project. For a moment, you feel good. But then, almost immediately, instead of feeling a lasting sense of pride and satisfaction, you feel empty, restless. You're already thinking, okay, what's next? What more can I do? This often goes hand in hand with the never enough feeling. No matter how much you accomplish, no matter how many goals you tick off your list, it just never feels like enough. You find yourself constantly striving for more. Maybe more money, more recognition, more followers on social media, more achievements, just more. The goalposts keep shifting, always just out of reach. And then comes the early stress and anxiety. You might start feeling constantly on edge, worried about meeting your own incredibly high expectations, or perhaps you become overly concerned with what other people think of your achievements, or lack thereof. This constant low hum of stress can be an early indicator that your ambition is starting to take more from you than it's giving. Think about a time you worked really hard for something. Maybe it was acing an exam, or getting a part in a play, or saving up for something special. You got it. And for a brief moment, you were thrilled. But then, almost immediately, did you feel that little nagging thought, okay, that was good, but now I need to do even better. This isn't quite enough. That little sting, that fleeting satisfaction, that's the paradox starting to whisper. It's often the first sign that there's a mismatch between your external achievements and your internal sense of fulfillment, a hint of what psychologists call the arrival fallacy, which we'll explore more soon. This turning point is crucial because it's where ambition can start to subtly undermine our potential, not by making us achieve less, but by changing how we achieve and what it costs us. When ambition goes unchecked, it doesn't just whisper its discontent, it can start to shout, leading us down a spiral that can diminish our true potential in profound ways. Let's break down some of the most common and damaging consequences. First, let's talk about the toll unchecked ambition can take on our minds and emotions. When ambition runs wild, it often brings along some very unwelcome guests: chronic stress, constant anxiety, and eventually full-blown burnout. It's like your brain is permanently switched to on, always worrying about the next goal, the next deadline, the next way to prove your worth. This relentless internal pressure can be exhausting. For example, think of a student. Let's call her Maria. Maria is desperate to get into a top university. Her ambition drives her to study 10 hours a day. She quits her hobbies, stops seeing friends, and barely sleeps. She gets those top grades, yes, but she's also constantly tired, irritable, and feels like she's on the verge of snapping. Her ambition, in this case, is burning her out. Or consider David, a young professional. David is fiercely determined to climb the corporate ladder. He's working 70-hour weeks, eating lunch hunched over his desk, and is surgically attached to his email, even on vacation. He gets the promotions, but he feels increasingly disconnected from his family and is perpetually on edge. This isn't sustainable. This is a massive trap that many ambitious people fall into. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I get that A, or when I land that dream job, or when I buy that perfect house, or when I finally lose those 10 pounds. Psychologist Dr. Tal Ben-Shahar calls this the arrival fallacy. It's the false belief that achieving a specific external goal will bring us lasting happiness and fulfillment. But what usually happens in reality, you reach the goal, you feel that quick, exciting burst of joy, maybe for a day, a week, or even a month. And then, often, an unexpected emptiness creeps in, the happiness fades, and you find yourself already scanning the horizon for the next big thing that you believe will finally make you happy. Think back to when you were a kid. Remember wanting a specific toy or video game so badly you thought it would make you happy forever? You got it, played with it intensely for a week, and then it was just another toy gathering dust in the corner. That's the arrival fallacy in miniature. Or, on a bigger scale, Sarah worked tirelessly for years to become the head of her department. The day she got the promotion, she was ecstatic. But a month later, she confessed to feeling just as stressed and unfulfilled as before, her eyes already set on the next possible promotion, hoping that would be the one. This ties directly into another fascinating psychological concept called the hedonic treadmill. The idea here is that no matter what good or bad things happen to us, whether we win the lottery or face a major setback, our overall happiness level tends to return to our personal set point or baseline over time. So you get that raise, that award, that shiny new car. You feel fantastic for a little while, but then you adapt. It becomes the new normal, and your general level of happiness, it often settles back to pretty much where it started. Imagine running on a treadmill. You're putting in all this effort, striving, sweating, pushing yourself, but in terms of your lasting happiness, you're not actually getting anywhere new. You're just maintaining your position on the treadmill. This is why chasing external achievements alone rarely leads to sustained joy. Sometimes what looks like intense ambition on the surface isn't actually coming from a place of confidence or passion. Instead, it can be driven by a deep underlying fear of failure. This fear, which psychologists sometimes call atychiphobia, can be incredibly paralyzing. You might find yourself avoiding new challenges or shying away from taking risks, not because you lack ambition, but because you're terrified of the possibility of not succeeding. Your ambition then becomes about avoiding failure rather than pursuing genuine growth. This often leads directly to perfectionism, the belief that everything you do, every single time, has to be absolutely flawless. The renowned researcher Brené Brown has a lot to say about this. She argues that perfectionism isn't about striving for excellence or healthy self-improvement. Instead, she calls it a 20-ton shield we carry around, trying to protect ourselves from the pain of shame, blame, and judgment. It's often about trying to earn approval from others rather than being driven by our own internal standards of growth. Consider Leo, a talented young artist. He dreams of having his work displayed, but he rarely shares his paintings with anyone. He's so afraid that people won't think his art is absolutely perfect that he keeps it hidden away, missing out on valuable feedback, opportunities for growth, and the joy of sharing his passion. Or think about Chloe, who has a big project due. She wants it to be perfect, but the thought of it not being perfect is so overwhelming that she keeps putting it off, procrastinating until the very last minute. This, of course, just causes even more stress and often a less than perfect result. The psychological toll of unchecked ambition is significant. It's not just about feeling a bit stressed. It can fundamentally alter our experience of life, trapping us in cycles of striving and dissatisfaction. The pursuit of external validation, driven by these pressures, often leaves our intrinsic needs unmet, which is a core reason why these ambitious achievements fail to deliver lasting happiness. Beyond the psychological stress, unchecked ambition can also start to chip away at our very sense of self. When our ambition becomes all about what others think, getting those perfect grades to impress, chasing status symbols, accumulating likes and followers on social media, we can slowly lose touch with who we really are and what we genuinely value. Existentialist philosophers talk a lot about authentic living. This means living a life that's true to your own core values and beliefs, not just following a script that society or others have written for you. When unchecked ambition pulls us too far in the direction of external approval, we risk living in what these philosophers called bad faith. Essentially, we're just playing a role, performing for an audience, rather than living from our true center. Imagine Michael, who always dreamed of being a musician. He felt music in his soul, but his parents, with good intentions, really wanted him to become a doctor. His ambition, channeled into meeting their expectations, drove him all the way through medical school. He became a doctor, but deep down, he felt like he was living someone else's life, not his own. His potential as a fulfilled individual was diminished, even if his career potential looked good on paper. Or consider Priya, who spends hours every day crafting the perfect online persona. Her ambition is to be an influencer, to be popular, to get thousands of likes. But in the process, she feels increasingly disconnected from her real-life friends and her own genuine interests. The self she presents to the world isn't her authentic self. Obsessive focus on a single ambitious goal can create what's known as tunnel vision. You become so fixated on that one finish line that you miss everything else happening around you. You might miss out on other exciting opportunities, neglect important relationships, or even fail to notice warning signs about your own well-being. This intense focus comes with an opportunity cost. By pouring all your energy and resources into one thing, you are, by definition, giving up the chance to experience, learn, or achieve other valuable things. Your potential becomes narrowed. Think of it like this. You're on an epic treasure hunt, and you're so incredibly focused on getting to the X marked on your map that you walk right past a breathtaking waterfall, a friendly village offering unique experiences, and even another chest filled with different but equally valuable treasures. Your narrow ambition for that specific X makes you miss other forms of richness. For instance, a young entrepreneur might be so driven to make their startup the next billion-dollar sensation that they ignore crucial advice about diversifying their product line. They might neglect emerging market trends that could offer new avenues for growth, or miss chances to collaborate with others who could bring fresh perspectives. Their tunnel vision on that one massive goal could paradoxically limit their companies and their own ultimate potential. This is a common and painful consequence. If your professional goals or personal achievements are always prioritized over your personal connections, your relationships will inevitably suffer. You might find yourself always being too busy for friends and family. You might constantly cancel plans or always put your ambitious pursuits first, expecting others to understand. Over time, this pattern can lead to feelings of isolation, resentment from loved ones, and deeply damaged relationships. Take Sarah, who is training for a marathon. It's become her biggest ambition, consuming all her free time. She stops going to family dinners, she misses her best friend's birthday party because of a training run, and she frequently argues with her partner because she feels they don't understand her dedication. She might cross that finish line, achieving her ambitious goal, but she risks losing the people she cares about most in the process. Her potential for a rich, connected life is diminished. The erosion of self is a subtle but serious danger of unchecked ambition. We risk becoming a highly accomplished stranger to ourselves and those we love. Perhaps one of the most dangerous ways unchecked ambition diminishes potential is by leading us down an ethical, slippery slope. The intense pressure to succeed, to win, to achieve at all costs can sometimes make us consider choices that go against our own moral compass. When ambition puts us under extreme pressure and we're tempted to cut corners or do something we know isn't quite right, our minds have a clever way of helping us feel okay about it. Psychologist Albert Bandura called this moral disengagement. It means we find ways to mentally separate ourselves from the moral implications of our actions. We tell ourselves stories to make what we're doing seem less bad or even justified. These mental tricks make it easier to act against our better judgment when the pressure of ambition is high. Sociologist Diane Vaughan, in her study of the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, identified a phenomenon called the normalization of deviance. This is what happens when people in an organization or group start taking small, risky shortcuts or bending rules. Initially, they might feel a bit uneasy, but if nothing bad happens, they do it again and again. Over time, these deviant practices, these ways of doing things that are not quite right, become the new normal. People become so used to them that they stop seeing them as wrong or risky. The deviation has been normalized. A common analogy for this is the boiling frog story. If you drop a frog into a pot of boiling water, it will immediately jump out. But The story goes, if you put the frog in a pot of cool water and then slowly, gradually heat the water up, the frog won't perceive the danger. It adjusts to the rising temperature until it's too late and it gets cooked. This is how small ethical compromises driven by ambition can escalate over time without us fully realizing the danger we're in. Think about a workplace scenario. A company, ambitious for quick growth, might start by slightly exaggerating its success in a report to attract investors. It works, and nothing bad happens. So, next quarter, they exaggerate a little bit more. Over years, this slight exaggeration can morph into outright fraudulent accounting. But to many people inside the company, it just feels like how we do things around here. Their ambition to meet targets has normalized unethical behavior. The cases of Enron and Wells Fargo, where pressure to meet ambitious targets led to widespread unethical actions, are stark reminders of this process. Let's look at a few fictional but relatable scenarios where ambition can lead young people to an ethical crossroads. The student-athlete's dilemma. Alex is a talented high school basketball player, and their biggest dream, their driving ambition, is to get a college scholarship. The pressure is immense from coaches, parents, and especially from Alex himself. They see other players, maybe even on their own team, using performance-enhancing drugs and seemingly getting ahead, getting stronger, faster. Alex's ambition to succeed, to not let anyone down, to achieve that dream, makes them consider it just this once, Alex might think, just to get that edge, to make sure I get noticed. This is a classic example where unchecked ambition for a valued goal can tempt someone towards dangerous and unethical choices. The aspiring YouTuber. Jamie wants to be a famous YouTuber. Their ambition is to hit millions of subscribers and be recognized. They start by creating authentic, passionate content. But growth is painfully slow. Then Jamie notices other channels using clickbait titles, faking drama, or even buying followers, and those channels seem to explode in popularity overnight. Jamie's ambition for fame and numbers, for that quick success, tempts them to compromise their authenticity, to play the game even if it feels a bit wrong. The ambitious intern. Chloe is an intern at a highly competitive company. She's incredibly ambitious, and her main goal is to secure a full-time job offer at the end of the internship. Her manager assigns her a critical report and subtly hints that Chloe should make the numbers look as good as possible, even if that means bending the truth a little or omitting some inconvenient data. Chloe's ambition to impress her manager and land that coveted job offer puts her in a serious ethical bind. Does she compromise her integrity for a shot at her ambition? These examples show how the intense desire to achieve, when not guided by a strong ethical compass and self-awareness, can indeed lead us onto a slippery slope, diminishing not just our moral standing, but our potential to be individuals of integrity. It's crucial to understand that moral disengagement and the normalization of deviance aren't just about bad people doing bad things. More often, it's about ordinary people who gradually slide down an ethical slope, often under the immense pressure of unchecked ambition, and sometimes within systems or cultures that implicitly reward or fail to check such behavior. We've seen the what, how ambition can turn sour and lead to negative consequences. But why does this happen? Why does a drive that starts off feeling so positive sometimes lead us astray? There are several underlying traps and psychological reasons. There's a fascinating idea from economics known as Goodhart's Law, which states, when a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. What on earth does that mean in simple terms? It means that when we get so hyper-focused on hitting a specific number, like a sales target, a certain grade in school, a particular number of followers on social media, or a desired salary figure, we can completely forget why that number was supposed to be important in the first place. The number itself, the metric, becomes the only goal. This can lead people to game the system, find loopholes, or even make unethical choices just to hit that target, even if their actions don't lead to any real improvement, genuine success, or the original intended outcome. The focus shifts from the substance to the symbol. A stark real-world example of this was the Wells Fargo account scandal. Imagine a bank tells its employees that their main goal, the big measure of their success, is to open 8 accounts for every customer. The slogan was, 8 is great, Soon, some employees became so focused on hitting that magic number 8 that they started opening millions of fake accounts without customers' permission. The measure, 8 accounts, became the target, and it completely stopped being a good measure of actual customer service, bank health, or ethical behavior. Consider a student in a school that heavily emphasizes standardized test scores above all else. Teachers, under pressure for their students to perform, might start teaching to the test. This means they focus only on the specific material and question types that will appear on the exam, potentially neglecting deeper learning, critical thinking skills, or creativity. The test score becomes the target, not a genuine, well-rounded education. This isn't just an economic principle, it's a fundamental psychological trap for personal ambition. When an internal sense of progress, purpose, or genuine learning, the original good measure, gets replaced by an external metric, like grades, salary, or follower counts, the pursuit itself becomes distorted. We might hit the metric, but we undermine the original, more meaningful purpose. We also live in a world that often relentlessly glorifies hustle culture. There's this pervasive idea that to be successful, you have to be working non-stop, always striving, always busy, always on. If you're not exhausted, are you even trying hard enough? Social media frequently amplifies this pressure. We scroll through feeds filled with carefully curated, seemingly perfect lives and highlight reels of others' achievements. It's incredibly easy to fall into the comparison trap, constantly measuring ourselves against these often unrealistic portrayals and feeling like we're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not being enough. This intense external pressure can fuel an unhealthy kind of ambition, making us chase goals that society values, or goals that look impressive to others, even if those goals don't genuinely align with our own happiness or well-being. For example, Mark is constantly seeing his peers on social media, showcasing lavish vacations, new startups, and seemingly perfect relationships. He feels immense pressure to keep up, pushing himself relentlessly in a high-stress career he doesn't truly love, all to project an image of success that matches what he sees online. The way we think about our own abilities also plays a huge role. Psychologist Carol Dweck has done groundbreaking work on 2 fundamental mindsets, the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you tend to believe that your talents, your intelligence, and your basic abilities are set in stone. They're fixed traits. You either have them or you don't. From this perspective, challenges are scary because if you fail, it feels like a judgment on your inherent worth. It means you're just not good enough. This can lead to avoiding ambitious goals unless success is almost guaranteed, or to crumbling under pressure when things get tough. On the other hand, if you have a growth mindset, you believe that you can develop your abilities through dedication, effort, and learning. Challenges are not threats, but opportunities to grow. Failure isn't a disaster, it's valuable feedback that helps you learn and improve. Unchecked ambition, combined with a fixed mindset, can be a recipe for misery. Any setback feels like a devastating personal failing, making you either push harder in increasingly unhealthy and desperate ways, or give up entirely on your potential because you believe you've hit your unchangeable limit. Imagine 2 students facing a really tough math problem. The student with a fixed mindset might think, "I'm just bad at math. I'll never get this," and give up. The student with a growth mindset, however, might think, "Wow, this is hard, but I know I can figure it out if I keep trying and maybe ask for help." Their ambition is channeled very differently by their underlying beliefs about their own capacity to learn and improve. The interplay between societal pressure, like hustle culture and social media comparison, and an individual's mindset, fixed versus growth, often determines just how toxic their ambition can become. A growth mindset can act as a buffer, helping someone navigate external pressures more authentically. In contrast, a fixed mindset can amplify these pressures, turning them into rigid demands that must be met to prove one's worth, as failure would confirm their perceived fixed inadequacy. Remember earlier we talked about intrinsic motivation, doing something because you genuinely love it or find it meaningful, and extrinsic motivation, doing something for an external reward like money, grades, or praise. When our ambition is primarily fueled by extrinsic motivators, it's far more likely to become unhealthy and lead to dissatisfaction. Why? Because those external rewards, the money, the fame, the grades, the approval from others, often don't lead to lasting happiness. As we discussed, they're subject to the hedonic treadmill. the good feeling wears off. If your ambition isn't deeply connected to what genuinely interests you, what you find fulfilling, or what aligns with your core values, your intrinsic motivation, you're much more likely to burn out, feel empty even when you succeed, or even be tempted to cut ethical corners just to get that external reward. An over-reliance on extrinsic motivation for ambitious pursuits creates a very fragile foundation for self-esteem, making individuals more vulnerable to that never-enough cycle and the disappointment of the arrival fallacy. For instance, someone who becomes a lawyer purely for the high salary and status, extrinsic motivation, might find themselves hating their job and feeling miserable despite the financial success. In contrast, someone who becomes a lawyer because they are deeply passionate about justice and helping people, intrinsic motivation, might find profound fulfillment in their work, even if the pay is less or the hours are long. Their ambition is fueled by something more sustainable. Understanding these traps is the first step towards navigating ambition more wisely. Okay, so we've journeyed through the potential pitfalls of unchecked ambition. It might sound a bit doom and gloom, but here's the really good news. You are in the driver's seat. Ambition doesn't have to be a runaway train. You can learn to steer it, to manage it, and to cultivate a healthy, vibrant ambition that genuinely fuels your potential without draining your soul or leading you astray. The very first and perhaps most crucial step is to redefine what success truly means to you. Society often hands us a very narrow definition: lots of money, a fancy job title, a big house, public recognition. But is that all there is? Is that what will genuinely make you feel successful and fulfilled? True success often lies not just in the destination, but in the journey itself, and importantly, in the person you become along the way. It can be about growth, continuous learning, making a positive difference in the lives of others, nurturing strong and loving relationships, or simply feeling a deep sense of purpose and contentment in your daily life. Take a moment right now, just a quick mental check-in. What are 3 things that would make you feel truly successful that aren't solely about money or a job title? Holding on to those personal definitions is key. This act of personally redefining success is quite radical when you think about it, especially in the face of societal pressures that often dictate narrow, externalized versions of what it means to make it. This personal redefinition is fundamental to reclaiming your authentic potential. Once you have a clearer idea of what success means to you, ask yourself the powerful question: why do I want this? If your ambition is deeply connected to a larger purpose, or if it aligns with your core values, the principles that are most important to you, it's much more likely to be a source of lasting fulfillment and sustainable motivation. For example, there's a big difference in the why behind ambition. Wanting to become a doctor because you have a profound desire to help people and alleviate suffering, a purpose, value-driven ambition will feel very different and likely be more rewarding than wanting to become a doctor primarily for the perceived prestige or high salary, an externally validated ambition. Many ancient wisdom traditions, from Stoic philosophy to Eastern spiritual practices, teach us the immense value of finding joy and meaning in the process of striving, not just in the eventual outcome. Focus on your effort, on the learning and growth that happens along the way, on acting with integrity and virtue in your pursuits, rather than obsessing solely over whether you win or lose or achieve that specific external goal. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Of course, the view from the summit can be spectacular, but that moment at the top is often fleeting. The real richness, the lasting memories, the personal growth often come from the experience of the climb itself. The challenges overcome, the beauty discovered along the path, the feeling of your muscles working, the camaraderie with fellow climbers. If you only focus on the summit, you miss the joy of the hike. Remember our discussion about fixed versus growth mindsets? Actively cultivating a growth mindset is essential for healthy ambition. Embrace challenges as opportunities to learn, not as threats to your ego. And most importantly, reframe your relationship with failure. See setbacks not as proof that you're no good or that your ambition is futile, but as incredibly valuable feedback. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience help me grow and do better next time? This kind of resilience is the bedrock of healthy, sustainable ambition. Aim for excellence by all means, strive to do your best, but let go of the impossible burden of perfectionism. As Brené Brown reminds us, perfectionism is often a trap, a way we try to avoid shame and judgment. Instead, practice self-compassion. Be as kind, understanding, and supportive to yourself when you stumble or fall short of your own expectations as you would be to a dear friend in the same situation. Remind yourself that you are enough, just as you are, even while you are striving to grow and achieve. This shift from perfectionism to self-compassion fundamentally alters the experience of ambition, making it energizing and empowering rather than depleting and anxiety-ridden. When you set goals, make sure they are realistic and crucially aligned with your authentic values and genuine interests, not just with what others expect of you or what you think looks good on paper. Break down your big ambitions into smaller, more manageable steps. This makes the journey less daunting and allows you to experience a sense of progress more frequently. And don't forget to celebrate those small wins along the way. Acknowledging your progress, no matter how incremental, fuels motivation and reinforces that you're on the right path. Finally, understand that it is entirely possible and incredibly healthy to be ambitious and content at the same time. Contentment isn't about laziness or a lack of drive. It's about appreciating what you already have, who you already are, and where you are on your journey, even as you continue to work towards something more. It's a dynamic equilibrium between striving and acceptance. Practice gratitude regularly. Take a few moments each day to consciously acknowledge the good things in your life, big and small. This simple practice can ground you, increase your overall happiness, and make the journey of ambition much more joyful and sustainable. Contentment isn't the opposite of ambition. It's its essential partner for well-being and true, lasting success. By consciously applying these principles, you can transform your ambition from a potential source of stress and dissatisfaction into a powerful, uplifting force that helps you unlock your true potential and live a more meaningful life. So, we've explored the intricate dance of ambition, this powerful force that resides within so many of us. We've seen that it truly is a paradox. On one hand, ambition can be an incredible engine for good, pushing us to achieve amazing things, to innovate, to grow, and to reach potentials we might never have imagined. It can fuel our dreams and shape our world for the better. But, as we've also discussed, when ambition is left unchecked, when it's driven primarily by fear, by external pressures, by a relentless need to prove ourselves, or by a narrow definition of success, it can lead us down a path of chronic stress, profound unhappiness, and even ethical compromises. It can cause us to lose sight of who we truly are, what genuinely matters to us, and the rich tapestry of life that exists beyond the next goalpost. The ultimate takeaway here isn't to extinguish your ambition, to stop striving, or to settle for less than you're capable of. Far from it. The key is to learn to manage your ambition wisely. It's about shifting from a state where ambition drives you, potentially into the ground, to a state where you drive your ambition consciously and thoughtfully. Ultimately, striving wisely means engaging in a continual process of self-awareness. It means asking yourself not just, what do I want to achieve, but also, who do I want to become in the process of achieving it? And perhaps even more importantly, what kind of life, rich in meaning and fulfillment, do I truly want to live? Your potential is vast, like an uncharted ocean, but it blossoms best and leads to the most rewarding discoveries when your ambition is guided not just by a desire for more, but by your heart, your values, and your growing wisdom. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What are your experiences with ambition? Has it ever felt like a double-edged sword in your life? Perhaps you've found particular strategies that help you keep your ambition healthy and aligned with your well-being. Please share your thoughts, your stories, and any insights you have in the comments section below. This is a conversation we can all learn from, and your experience is valuable. If this video gave you something to think about, if it resonated with you, please take a moment to hit that like button. It really does help the channel reach more people who might benefit from this discussion. And of course, if you're interested in more deep dives into psychology, philosophy, and practical ways to live a more fulfilling and self-aware life, make sure to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Thank you so much for watching, for thinking with us today, and remember, strive wisely.